Hi everyone, it's Stewart. It's Friday. Update from the team down here on the south coast. So, what's going on? Last Friday the guys rounded Cape Horn and we were celebrating them turning the corner and being on their way home. This week we've had a huge amount of activity here in the team base and it's been a little bit challenging for everyone, but let me update you with where we are. So, I guess right since the Atlantic, when we had a problem with a little bit of delamination on the mainsail and then subsequently the main track issue, the guys have been nursing the boat and trying their best to keep the boat performing up there, at the top percentile. They got across the Pacific, however they did some more damage, little bits, but the attrition's been pretty hard on our sails. And when we rounded Cape Horn, it became fairly apparent that with a long Atlantic leg left, that they needed to stop and make some repairs. So, at this point, let me say, the guys were really determined not to make a full technical stop. They really wanted to do this. Considering the start of the race and the difficult start, they were really determined that it would be an amazing result to finish the race without stopping. And we all agreed, and we've been helping them non-stop since the start to make that happen. But they needed to do some sail repair. So on Sunday, Monday, they pulled into a little bay in the Falklands, and the Falkland Islands are pretty well known. But the reality of the Falkland Islands is they're a relatively small, isolated group of islands in frankly the middle of nowhere. And the guys pulled into a little bay, threw down the hook, got the anchors down, and they attempted to make those repairs themselves. I think it's speaking to them on the phone at that time, a really courageous thing to do. I guess we can all imagine what it must be like in a remote bay with no one around, trying to get sails out on deck and trying to repair them. It was a really difficult time for them, and they did their best, but it became apparent over those 24, 36 hours that they just weren't going to be able to do it on their own. So Wednesday we made a tough decision, and that was that they needed to get to Port Stanley and they needed to get some proper technical support to get these sails repaired so they could get up the Atlantic at 100%. So that was the decision that was made. They held offshore for 24 hours whilst the wind moderated. Port Stanley is what we call a dead-end port. So once you go into the port, there's no other exit. So if you go in there and there's problems, or there's too much wind and you get into problems, then there's no way out apart from going back the way you came in. So there is they held offshore for 24 hours while the wind moderated a bit. They went on a mooring, and yesterday morning they got moved onto the dock. So they're in, they're safe. That's great. The guys got some sleep. They had their first pizza, which must taste simply amazing after 70 days of freeze-dried food. And they're there, and now the job is to get the sails back up to 100%, get the mast track repaired, and get them back up the Atlantic as fast as possible. So where are we on that? Ross flew down the day before yesterday, Wednesday night. There is one flight a week into the Falklands on a Saturday, a commercial flight. On a Wednesday night though, there is a RAF plane, so we managed to get him a seat with a whole bunch of supplies on an RAF jet. I got a text from last night saying the flight was horrendous, but I don't actually know what that means yet, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him today. But it's a 22-hour flight on an RAF plane down to the Falklands. He made it in yesterday, and they got the sails off, and they're now working on the mast track and working on the sails. So we've commandeered the village hall, and we've managed to get the community down in the Falklands who've been unbelievably helpful behind us, which has just been great to have that support. We'll be there for a couple of days, and maybe 3 days. We're going to do this properly. We're going to make sure that we get the boat back to 100%. We've got some sailmakers coming in tomorrow, and we'll get those guys back on the water and back up the Atlantic just as fast as we possibly can. So they're determined to get this done quickly. They're determined to get it done properly, so are we, and we're all determined to see this boat finish in the right way, sailing at 100%. So that's where we are. More updates next week.